What's up, you guys? Danger Rock here. Today we're going to be looking at two figures from The Batman, which was released in 2004 by Mattel and DC Comics. These figures stand at about 8.5 inches tall, and these are some of the best Batman figures we've ever gotten from a toy company. Now, I know I've done some reviews on some of these other guys, some of the smaller ones that were in 6-inch scale. And I always wanted to do a review of these larger figures because they got some really nice detail. And I was never able to find a classic looking Batman just with the standard black and gray costume like he has in the cartoon. And to my knowledge, I was able to find all these different color variations of him. And I thought to myself that these look really cool, even though they never used any of these in the cartoon. And then one day as I was out thrifting, I actually came across a classic gray and black Batman. So this one right here is an 8-inch articulated figure right here on the left. And it looks like he had some kind of play feature or mechanism because I could see he has a speaker and his eyes look like they would have lit up, unlike the one on the right here, which is just painted white. But what I want to do is take a closer look at these figures and compare them to some of the modern action figures that we get of today, because these still reign supreme in my opinion. I'm not just saying that because of nostalgia. I'm saying that because the level of detail on these guys is something that I don't see Mattel or DC doing nowadays. So what we're going to do first is take a look at Batman himself. Now, this figure right here has a very nice animated look to it. Some of you guys might remember coming home from school at 4:30 in the afternoon and putting your channel on to Kids WB, because this is actually what would come on the weekday afternoons, and then the channel moved to Saturday mornings on the CW, and this is what would come on around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. It would come on right before Legion of Superheroes, Shaolin Showdown, Johnny Test, and all that. And this was my introduction to Batman. I wasn't even born yet to watch the animated series, which that one was better, but I actually do like the look of these figures a lot more. So his chest proportion here is actually very wide for a figure, which it's show accurate, but it's actually a lot wider than this one over there. His face sculpt right here, I actually feel like came out really nicely. I really like the way they made the bat ears look really, really small on this one. And they decided to give his chin, his whole jaw thing right here, a really nice look. Now, his eyes right here are completely translucent. So I believe they would light up at one point because there's this big circle thing right on the back of the figure. And it looks like this would have been a button. It looks like the button here had been removed. But that's okay because this guy's going to do nothing but stand on a shelf next to all my other Batman. So lots of screw holes on here. I don't see anything that would indicate that there's a battery compartment here. So it must have just been a feature on its own. Right here you could see a speaker, which would allow him to talk. What I think is so great about this figure is that whatever the play feature was, whether it was talking and light up eyes, it does not take away from the posability of the figure. Now, articulation-wise, you can rotate his head back and forth. It won't go a full 360 for some reason because there's a hinge right here that prevents it from doing so. Arms can fully swivel all the way around. They bend in and out at the elbows. His legs can't really kick outward at all because of this hinge right here on his utility belt, but they do bend at the knees, which is actually nice. So we could get him into one of those poses where he's like throwing a batarang at the Joker or something like that. And I do like the detail they put into this utility belt right here. He doesn't have any pouches or anything, but you could see this all sculpted in here. You could see like the pouch like for his batarangs and all that, and it's yellow and it goes all the way around his waist, which is actually really nice. I like the way the black and gray paint came out on this guy. I like the way that they decided to use light gray paint and dark black paint, and it didn't come out really sloppy at all. It came out just right. Another interesting thing that I noticed is the bat symbol on his chest right here is a lot smaller compared to that one over there. Which I think the one over there is actually more like it was in the cartoon. So this is one of those deluxe figures that didn't really come with any play features or accessories. Actually doing a little bit of research on this, I found out that this was painted multiple times, and I actually found this one at a local comic book shop. And as far to my knowledge also, he did not come with a cape. There is a hole right on the back right here, which would indicate that he came with a cape, but this version of Batman did not come with that for some reason. This figure right here, I actually do like a lot better. I actually do like the white right here for his eyes. That looks very accurate to the cartoon. And I honestly like the blue a lot better than the gray. I really like that they went with a light blue, like metallic paint, and decided just not to paint this entire thing blue. They gave it like a nice, sleek, stealthy look to him, which actually looks really, really nice. This also kind of reminds me of like he's like a battling Mr. Freeze armor, because he's all blue right here, or actually it kind of looks like Sub-Zero armor if you really look at it closely. What I really like about the black paint on this one is like you could actually see what's sculpted right here. It kind of just looks like an oxygen suit. You could see like these little dots right here on his arms, like where oxygen gas would come out of it. And the black right here is not actually black paint. It actually covers the entire figure, which actually makes it look like he's wearing some type of armor, which is nice. Also, the spikes right here came out really clean. I like the way that they're a hard plastic and they're not like a floppy paper thing, because that's something that I didn't like that some Batman figures actually nowadays use. Articulation-wise, he's pretty much the same. You can bend his elbows, you can fully rotate his arms. This one, you actually can rotate the head a full 360, which is actually really nice. He's not limited by a hinge back here that this one has. Also, his ears are a little bit pointier on this one, I actually noticed, but they do stand at about the same height. His legs actually can kick outward pretty far. They could go all the way back, which is pretty far. You could almost get his leg to go right above his head, so that's really nice in terms of posability. His knees bend. They don't go outward at all. They're just stuck in that position. You can bend his elbows, rotate his elbows. And also, what's really interesting is look how far out his utility belt comes out. Now, compared to this one over here, besides that it's a lighter yellow, it actually looks like it's popping off the figure. The belt is a lot bigger. You can see every single pouch is actually sculpted in there, which actually looks really, really good. So I like the way, like on a shelf, if I put this next to all my other Batman figures, I think the blue and the black make this stand out a lot. Like here you can tell he's just wearing gloves. Here it kind of looks like he's got this black armor, which is actually really, really nice. And it's really nice. I guess what it does for me is I just really like the animation style of him. The way the face and everything looks very distinct to the cartoon. And these figures were made by Mattel, so these came out around when the DC Universe Classic line of figures was pretty much just starting. And they never actually made figures of this cartoon in the 6-inch scale, with all the details. They only made them in 6-inch scale for the cartoon, but I feel like they could have made them a little bit bigger, but that show actually did end up running for a long time. I think it started in 2004 and ended around 2009. And what I actually have right here, as far as comparisons go, is I'm going to compare these two Batman figures to some of the figures that we get today from toy companies. So what I have right here is the Batman Unlimited figure. I decided to compare it to this guy because I really like the classic gray and blue look. Gives me a nice 1970s look for the bat suit. This one's got the yellow utility belt and everything. And this was from the movie Batman Unlimited. As you can see, he's got a cloth cape, which is actually really good. The only thing that I did not like about these figures was they're very limited on posability. Now, this is a big upgrade compared to Marvel's Titan Hero series, because when I picked this up, that's what I thought it was at first, and then I realized what's different about him is you can move his head and everything. It's actually pretty stiff, but this guy here does have shoulder articulation. Not only is he posable in the arms, but you can rotate his wrist right there. He has a hinge right here where you could get him to do a split. But that's all he has. I mean, his knees don't bend whatsoever. He's pretty stiff on that. But this was, I believe, also made by Mattel, like these guys right here. Let's see if we could get a year on him. Any place right here. No, here it just says DC Comics Mattel. It doesn't give me a year on this guy whatsoever. The cloth cape is also something I was never really a fan of because it just looks like it's hanging right there. It doesn't let me get his cape in any dynamic poses. Like if I wanted to pose Batman on a figure stand right here, I can't really do that because his cape won't go up in the air. It just kind of hangs at his side, which is disappointing. But what I will also compare him to is it gets even better because I do have some other versions of Batman right here. Here we got the Spin Masters Batman, which is actually a big improvement. So not only do we get the exact same posability as this guy right here, but they did give us movable legs that hinge outward, knee articulation, so we could get him into some more poses, hand articulation, and elbow articulation. So this one right here actually is pretty good. He's got that classic gray, black and everything. This one has more of a comic book look to him. So this one right here I would recommend as well. And the last one we're going to compare him to is Matt Reeves, the Batman. Now, this is one of those figures that was released for the movie. It has that movie look to him. He also did have a play feature that if I push this button, his cape right here is actually not cloth. It's actually a fabric where his cape would pop out, which is still a really nice figure. It's just that in order to get his cape into some really good poses, you actually have to unclip it right here because it clips to his legs, and you could get the cape to kind of go outward if you wanted to get this guy into any really decent poses. But I like that it's all black. I'm not a fan of this bat symbol or look for Batman. I think it's just a little bit too radical. The bat symbol on his chest right here is just way too big, and it doesn't really look like a classic looking thing, which this one I believe was also made by Spin Masters. What I do feel like is that Spin Masters actually does really do a good job with the detail in their figures. You can actually see the bat symbol and his belt and everything just popping off this guy. It looks like he's loaded with gadgets. And the only other thing I really have to compare him to, where DC has the upper hand in terms of making their action figures, is as far as size comparisons go, here I have the 12-inch Titan Hero Series Spider-Man, which here we got Spin Masters, Mattel, and Hasbro right here. And while the Hasbro figures do have all kinds of nice detail to their 12-inch line, there's this thing on the back which activates a play feature, which each toy will talk if you plug in a certain device to it, which it's okay. I just don't like this ginormous hole on the back of him. And as far as posability wise, I mean, he does kind of have some pretty good detail, but his arms just go up and down. We have no movement in the elbows right here. We do have some movement in the legs, which not all of them have. And we have some movement in the wrist right here, which is actually really good. But if we compare him to Spin Masters right here, yeah, we can actually bend his legs and his arms and everything. So that's kind of an upside. But going back to these figures right here, I feel like these were really unique for their time. The body mold that they use for these are not too skinny at all. I feel like his chest proportions are just a little bit too big. And you can move, his waist does swivel. I'm not sure if I said that already, but they are quite a bit posable compared to these figures right here. I also feel like the bodies of these are just too skinny. Right here, I feel like that just leaped right off of the screen onto my table. I feel like if I was a kid on Saturday morning watching this cartoon, I feel like I went right up to the screen and I was like, okay, that's mine now. So in terms of real accuracy, these Mattel figures from back in the day really had it in terms of accuracy. I think the way they looked at this was like, kids are going to play with these. Accessories are probably going to end up lost. So why would we put this much detail into something that was just for a kid? Which, when these figures had capes, the fact that they actually sculpted his belt, painted his belt, and they're like, the cape is going to go over it, so people aren't even going to see what this looks like from behind. But they went through that extra mile and put in all this detail. Like, just look at the spikes on his arm right here. I can't say they included that detail with these other ones. So we got a nice look from 2004, 2015 to 2018 to like 2020. I think that this one came out right here. As far as Hasbro's concerned, I think this came out around, let's see if we get a year on here, 2022. So this one's actually a reissue, but just to kind of give you guys an idea of what you can find back then versus what you can find now. So I would recommend the 6-inch figures of these a little bit more because although they are smaller in scale, they are a lot more posable. Some of them even had butterfly joints where you can move his arms out a bit more. But if you're not able to find those, these two will do just fine. So, yeah, this has been a nice long review in comparison. So this has been my review of the Batman 8-inch figures released in 2004 by Mattel. If you like this video, please leave a like. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of these figures? Do you think that they were really unique for their time? Do you think this was a nice look for Batman? What are your thoughts on the cartoon, the toy line associated with it, and what do you guys think of all the different iterations of Batman that we've gotten over the years? Is this the best version? Is there a version here that I'm missing? Did another toy company do it better than Mattel or Spin Masters? I look forward from hearing from you guys, so let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video review.